Hello, ineffable being. How are you doing today? I hope you're having a wonderful, magical day. I want to tell you that you are a genius. You are special. You mean the world, and you are loved. Today's topic is how to build the biggest building. So, one of my mentors, Garyvee, he has this topic, he has this idea, this theme, and I want to discuss it. I want to go over it with you, and I want to share it with you because I believe it's such a profound, fundamental principle that everybody should hear this. And the story is how to build the biggest building in town. So Garyvee says there's two options. You can go and create the biggest building in town, or you can try to shoot down other people's buildings, destroy others' buildings, and create a mediocre building. So what is he talking about? What are we discussing here? What are we talking about? Am I literally trying to tell you, like, create a tallest building? Well, Luis, I don't want to create buildings. I'm not Trump. I don't want skyscrapers. The idea, the metaphor, the love behind this is, what are you trying to create? And I guess what Gary Vee is talking about, how are you going to go about creating it? There's two ways. You can just go and do it every single day. Put on the hard pants, put on your hard hat, and go and do it. Or you can go behind people's back, you can step over people's shoulders, you can knock people down and be and create what you need to that way. So I want to ask you, what are you trying to create? Is it more financial freedom? Is it more time, more vacations, more loving relationships, more intelligence, a better health? What are you trying to create? And in whatever world you're trying to create, then there's always two routes you can take. And I'm going to share with you what steps to take. I'm going to share with you 4 key tools that I use every single day that are going to get you to create the tallest building in town the right way, the more loving way, the righteous way. All right? So the first is conscious emotional foundation. You have to have a conscious foundation for yourself, because the only reason when the alarm rings in the morning, you don't get out of bed, you don't get out of bed excited, jumping, get in the cold shower or take your hot shower, drive to work, is because your energy. And your energy is your emotions. So the first thing to create what you want to create, more wealth, better health, etc., and X, Y, Z, whatever it is, this is the first thing, because the energy you carry is the only reason you have the energy to go do that interview. You have the power to speak in front of that press conference or speak to the woman that you want to speak with. If you are anxious and fearful, you're not going to ask that girl out. If you have the power, the confidence, the high elevated emotions, then you will. And it could go into the professional and corporate world as well. So the first thing is creating an emotional foundation. That is first and most important. The next thing is understand your brain a little bit, And it doesn't take a lot. I'm not saying you have to go get a science degree. I sure don't, but I understand a lot about the brain that the average person does not. Probably the only person that knows more about the brain is someone who's literally trying to get a doctor's degree. And you know what? I haven't paid a dime. Sure, I had a time. I had to pay. I had to pay with my time. I had to investigate. I had to get mentors. I had to get on master classes from Dr. Safali. I had to get on, record with Dr. Joe Dispenza. I had to read Dr. Bruce Lipton. I had to just read. But it doesn't take money to know about your brain. It doesn't take money to know that every situation with every person, every experience, everything creates a neurological network in the brain. And beyond that, every experience you have with every person, with everything, the end result of every experience in your life is an emotion. So these are just like 2 things that I love to remember, because I'm like, so what am I storing in the brain? And what emotional quotient, what energetic quotient does this experience have? Because science shows energy systems, energies that create long-term memories are created from very highly emotional experiences. So look, I lived a traumatic childhood. I had a lot of abuse. So now that I'm an adult, I'm like, oh, so my unconscious, that is my paradigm, that is built from long-term memories is built from these very large neural networks. Oh, wow. Okay. So my brain is mapped to the future because I'm not waking up to a vision of the future. So I'm going to recreate the past and I'm going to feel emotionally within the boundaries of past experiences. So, you just start diving deeper and deeper into it, right? But you don't need to know the full, you don't need to dissect a brain, but you just need to know a little bit about the brain, right? What are thoughts? What is the mind? How do you, better the brain? And why? Because you want to create the tallest building that you possibly can, and you don't want to knock down anybody else's building along the way. You don't want to lessen your moral beliefs to try to create success. No, you want to be a morally correct, a righteous person, but still create the fame, wealth, money that you want. So, foundation, emotional foundation, a little bit about the brain and mind, and then optimize your body. Because, sure, your mind might be 100%, but you know what? Your brain is carrying, your body is carrying the brain. So, maybe, you look a little bit into nutrition, right? Nutrition. You look, well, my body, my stomach, is the proteins of the stomach are called enzymes. So, if I eat this versus this, well, does it give me more enzymes or does it give me less enzymes? So I'm vegan. I'm a raw vegan, basically almost. I'm not saying you have to be, but just a little bit. Look at your body because your body is what you have to go and create what you carry in your mind. So if you have a good emotional state and a good mind, but you're lethargic, but you don't really eat well, and you're not exercising, you're not drinking water, you're not breathing, well, that's going to affect you too, right? And you're not going to, go and create the tallest building. You might be like, oh, I'm stressed out because my emotional foundation isn't there. And, oh, I don't really know if I should use my brain or not use my brain. Oh, what a stress. And then your body is just carrying all this negative energy. So, it's common sense. Whenever you're in survival mode, which is whenever you're experiencing the hormones of stress, well, you're not really you're looking out for yourself. You're looking out, do I have things to eat and a shelter? So in this, paradigm, you're not really worried about someone else. And it's going to be a lot easier for you to scam someone, to step over someone, to stab someone in the back, which you probably wouldn't have done if you have a good emotional foundation, if you have your mind trained where you're going, if your body is strong and powerful. And the last thing is, you just can't stop. You just got to keep going, right? That's how you build the biggest building in town. That's the only way you're going to rightfully build the biggest building in town. You plant the blueprints. That's getting your emotional state right. Then, you get the contracts and the permits. That's getting your brain and your mind correct. You set almost, in essence, a second blueprint, right? And then you start moving physically through space and time. You wake up earlier, you eat healthier, you save more money, you don't watch Netflix a lot, you don't hang out with your friends so much playing video games and basketball, but you start creating what you want to create. And then what? Well, then you gotta just keep doing what you're gonna do. Just don't stop. You become that powerful, that horse, and then you just keep creating, right? Like a skyscraper. We don't really you create the exoskeleton first, right? And we're talking about, what I've kind of heard about over there in Dubai, the Burj Khalifa, if that's what it's called. And if you're from over there or you know the correct pronunciation, then my apologies. But the Burj Khalifa, right? It's one of the tallest buildings in the world. Well, what, did they put the glass up first, or like did they put the carpeting? How did they start? No, they set the foundation, and actually they even ripped out the existing foundation, right? They dug into the ground and they set that emotional foundation, right? That thing where you can get up and bounce off your bed, like Tigger from Winnie the Pooh, to co-create. And then what? Well, then they create the exoskeleton. From the documentary that I heard, that's what it's called. They call it the exoskeleton, which is, the metal beams that are all the way, miles high up in the air. And then what? And then they added, concrete. They put the floors, and now it's the most tall, most beautiful building in the world. So how do you think they created it? Dubai, one of the most modernized, countries in the world, quite frankly, to the point that from the aerial view, it's like you're literally looking at the United States, you're literally looking at continents and countries. Well, how did they do that? You know, like did they like piss? Excuse my language here, but did they piss on someone else's creation? Were they talking back about somebody else? Were they retweeting another company? Were they just big thumbs and no action? How did they possibly create this wonderful country that came from sand? Dubai a decade ago was sand. No, they molded sand. Imagine this. They molded the ocean, the sand. They moved it to create. And now it's one of the most beautiful destinations on the planet. So look up Garyvee. He's an amazing. I almost dropped my water here. Excuse me, y'all. He's an amazing person. A lot of energy, a lot of wisdom, a lot of insights, and go look him up and have him look it up. Garyvee, how to build the biggest building in town. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please share it down with me. Do you know who Garyvee is? Do you listen to him? What other topics, phrases do you hear from him that maybe we should look at and are for personal development? Also, put down in the comments, what topics would you like for me to cover in the future? And give it a big thumbs up and subscribe. I hope to see you on the side of light. Goodbye.